एकं अक्षरं हृदि निरन्तरं भासते स्वयं लिख्यते कथम् हृदयकुहरमध्ये केवलं ब्रह्ममात्रं यहमहम् इति साक्षात् आत्मरूपेण भाति हृदि विषमनसः आत्मनिष्ठो देहं मृण्मय जडात्मकम् अहं बुद्धिर्न तस्यास्त्यतो नाहं तत्तद्भावशुद्धिसमये सिद्धात्मसद्भावतः कोऽहं भावितकुतो रतिः दृष्टात्मनिष्ठात्मा सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं सोऽहं स्फूर्तितया अरुणाचलशिवः पूर्णो विभाति स्वयं. Namo Ramana. With Bhagavan's immense grace, we have been meditating on the verses of Sri Dakshinamurthy Stotram. We have been relying on Bhagavan's translation in Tamil of the original Sanskrit work by Adi Shankara Bhagavad-Padar. We are in the segment where we are beginning to see the 3 verses on the Ishvara. We have covered the first 3 verses, which is classified by Bhagavan somewhere in the 40s as covering the Jagat. The next 3 verses, that is 4, 5, 6, cover the Jiva, and the 7, 8, 9, they are about how the Jagat itself is only the self, or the light by which the Jagat is revealed is the self. That is, the Ishvara Shakti is the light by which everything is revealed. That light itself is the self of all, is the import that we are going to find from these verses. There is going to be a slight difference though it will appear that this verse which we are talking about, the light that which reveals, has lot of similarity to the earlier verse. The earlier verse being Rahu Prastha Divakarendu Sadrusho Maya Samachadana Sanmatra, that verse. And this verse goes like this. Balyadishvapi Jagradadishu Tata Sarvasva Vastasvapi Vyavrittasvanu Vartamana Mahamit Yantaspurantam Sada Swatmanam Prakati Karoti Bhajatam Yo Mudraya Bhadraya Tasmai Shri Gurumurtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye. The Tamil translation of Bhagavan is Kulavimun Nanavu Munna Kulavimun Nanavu Munna Kurupal Avasthai Ellam Suralinum Kalandu Irunde Jolikkumul Ahama Nalum Kadal Viluvorkar Tannai Kaatuvan Chitkurippal Tadal Vili Guruvam Anda Dakshinamurthy Potri Kulavimun Nanavu Munna Kurupal Avasthai Ellam Suralinum Kalandirunde Jolikkumul Ahama Nalum Kadal Viluvorkar Tannai Kaatuvan Chitkurippal Tadal Vili Guruvam Anda Dakshinamurthy Potri. We would have seen in the verses 4, 5 and 6 that the Jiva's experiences of waking, dream and deep sleep have been covered. The waking as that Nana Chitra Gadodara Stita Nana Chitra Gadodara Stita Mahadeepak Prabhabhaswaram. The waking state, how the Jiva goes out through the Indriyas and Janamiti Tameva Bantam Anubat Samastam Jagat. All the world, it shines only after the shining of the eye, which goes out through this Nana Chitra Gado, the pot made of many holes, and says, I know that I is the Dakshinamurti, who is the self of all, to him the Namaskaram. That was the waking state, and that related to mind, which is called the dream state, is that in the mind, Deham Pranam Api Indriyanyapi Chalam Buddhim Cha Shunyam Vidu. How the mind gets the identity with the various upadhis, and based on that, it develops many theories about the whole. And so from Stula Shariram to Sukshma Shariram to the Karana Shariram, Rahu Grasta Divakarendra Sadrusho, what happens in deep sleep? And the deep sleep riddle was solved by Pratyabhijna. The Pratyabhijna being the recognition that it is the I who went to sleep, who experienced sleep, who is now the same I in the waking. So that indicates the presence of the self, and we opened up the possibility that probably did not solve the riddle completely, because Bhagavan would explain in the talks that continuation in deep sleep can be seen as continuation of as the verse says, that is Rahu Sanmatra, that the existence alone, Sanmatra alone continues in deep sleep. If we take, then we come to Advaita. But if we take that, the same one who experienced sleep also experienced the happiness in sleep, or that the same one who experienced sleep as Nandakumar woke up as Nandakumar, then we open up the possibility that it is the ego that survived deep sleep. The deep sleep experience remains a riddle, with the ego being pointed as surviving the deep sleep, which we saw opens up Visishtadvaita and Dvaita before us. But if we take Sanmatra as indicated in the verse, then it doesn't. But however, the Sanmatra is not directly proved, it is proved through the Pratyabhijna. Pratyabhijna, we said, involved the recognition as this is the Ramaswamy whom I saw yesterday. So there is memory involved and there is the experience of the seeing the Ramaswamy again. Here the Ramaswamy being the I, that it is the I which went to sleep and which is now in the waking. So in the waking now, there is an experience of I. At the same time, the experience recognizes that this is the I that went to sleep. Therefore, I must have been there in deep sleep also. If somebody says that is merely uhe, that is merely estimation, anumana, then you say I experienced happiness. So there the problem starts, that who was the experiencer? Was it a relative ego? To solve that, the Acharya resolves to the Ishvara, not the Jiva who recognizes, not the Pratyabhijna anymore. He is going to take up the Antaspurantam Sada and he is going to open up the waking state, which was looked at as Nana Chitra Gadotara Sthita Mahadeepa Prabhabhaswaram. The whole of waking state was taken as one there. Now he is going to break up. And even the parts of the waking state, there is a unchanging I, Antaspurantam Sada. Therefore, from the individual consciousness, he is going to move to Ishvara consciousness. The I that is present all through the waking state, all through the dream, all through the deep sleep, and it is also the transcendence. It is not merely the ego that continues to witness all the three. It transcends the ego nature. That is what is going to come through this. That is why this verse is about Ishvara. And this jump, the quantum jump, where does it come? It comes in including to the Jagrat Adi Avasthas. The Acharya includes Balyadishvapi. That is Balyadishvapi Jagradadishu Tatha Sarvasvavastasvapi. In any avastha, there is going to be something. Vyavritta Vanu Vartamana Mahamityantaspurantam Sada. There is something that is going to be changing, and there is something that is going to be unchanging. This is called as Vyavritta Anuvritta Nyaya. Vyavritta is that which is going to be changing, and Anuvritta is that which is going to be unchanging. We are going to examine all the avasthas in which there is something that is Vyavritta that is going to be changing, and that is Anuvritta that is going to be unchanging. And this Anuvritta Ahamityantaspurantam Sada, this is different from the Pratyabhijna, the recognition, because in recognition there is this element of memory. The element of memory which will require a vasana for its presence, whereas that is not there in the Anubhava in the in this verse which we are taking about Ishvara, because the Ishvara's presence is always. The Jiva has to recognize his presence, the presence of the self in the waking state, and that is what went to sleep and recognize again in another waking state, it is me. Therefore, I continued. Here, there is no such thing required. There is no support of memory required. There is a direct perception. There is a direct perception of who is it that survives. So, what is the conceptual shift we have to make? We have to make from the pratyabhijna, the recognition of the self as the continuation of the self, to the antaspurantam sada. We have to come and find something that is shining continuously all the time inside us, irrespective of waking dream or deep sleep or any other state, any other avastha. By finding that light, which is shining all the time. Doubtlessly, that it is the Atma Swarupa that was making the appearance as the world, that was making the appearance as the dream world, as well as the appearance of the Karana Sharira in deep sleep. And that is in reality only the Antaspurantam Sada Spuranam. Ahamiti Spurantam. It is shining inside. That is what all this appearance actually is. Therefore, none of these appearances of the waking dream or deep sleep are real. They are in reality only the self, which is the Dakshinamurthy Swami, whom we are worshipping. And how he is going to reveal that is going to be shown in this verse. So we go into this verse having cleared up that conceptual gap. A little bit more about the conceptual gap from where we are jumping to where. There was a group discussion where the guru was trying to show this conceptual leap one has to make. And the dialogue that was going, there was a group of people discussing about this, how from Jiva, the individual, to the collective, the light that reveals your personal data and the light that reveals everything, how to make the jump. So they were trying to do it through a dialogue. And the Guru was saying, only when you consider yourself as an individual, then you say it is your love, your hatred, your anger, your jealousy. Whereas when one understands that all these are common to all human beings, that these are not my special individual possessions, that every human being, every self, every center is actually surrounded by all these emotions. Therefore, we are in fact the whole of human consciousness facing these various aspects of consciousness called jealousy, hatred, anger. So there is only one center. There is only one self which is experiencing all these experiences, including the feeling that it is experiencing others. So the dialogue moved to that we are really not six different people sitting and inquiring here. There is only one self, and we are observing the whole of human aspects coming to us in the form of thoughts. He said that. Then one of the participants, he said, then what happens when I die? When I die, what happens to the consciousness which I was holding? What happens to that? Where does it reside? Does it continue? Does it reside? Then the Guru again said, no, you have to understand this, that now you are considering yourself to be separate. It's not like that, that we are all one. There is only one center from which all these experiences are coming. Don't consider it as an individual experience. Understand that it is the human consciousness you are facing, and the whole of humanity has only one eye. And whatever thoughts come, when you remove those thoughts, then you remove the human conditionings itself on that consciousness. You transcend the whole of human conditionings, and you find that the consciousness is really not even conditioned by those aspects. Then he again asked, the person again asked, that I understood. But then what happens to my consciousness, that which I was experiencing as whatever I am now experiencing as the person? What happens to that? Where does it go when I die? Does it remain in the brain cells? Was the question again. The understanding is that once you have pulled it here, then the individuality is no more there. That what is being experienced is the collective consciousness of all human beings. And the Guru was trying to say that data will continue as human consciousness. He could not make that shift. Again, he went back to what will happen to my consciousness, where it will reside when the body dies. Will it? How can it remain with the brain cells? But the understanding is that now itself one is shifting from the individuality offering the individuality into the common, and then where does that common knowledge lie? Where does that common consciousness lie? It resides here. Wherever here is, it resides here. And right now, we are now working with the thoughts. That is the collective experience of the human being. They did not go beyond that. But see the difficulty to jump, because just by discussion we cannot jump from the individual to the collective. It has to come with the sadhana of purifying oneself. As we start doing self-enquiry, this shift from the individuality to the common, there the discussion was only up to the human level. But that jump itself could not be understood by one of the discussants. Once again, naturally, his perception, which is of the individual, he asked, what is going to happen to this? Will it remain in my brain? And what that other person was trying to say, right now, in your brain, what is acting on your brain is the common consciousness, is the consciousness that is common to all. That is what is acting on your brain. It is not the individual I which is having attachment or dealings with the brain. He was trying to show that, and that consciousness where it is residing, the whole of human consciousness is present in each one of us. All we have to do is keraya neerannu kerayalli chelli. That the droplets of water you took from the water body, give it back to the water body. From there on, there is no particular the individual thoughts or worries or cares anymore, because whatever is going to happen to the whole is going to happen to you. So the load is already put on the wagon and the train is carrying. That should be the feeling when we shift from verse number 6 to verse number 7. And how is the Acharya doing this for us? Like that Guru was trying to say that the love, hatred, and all are all common to you, common to all human beings. So you are actually not an individual struggling to understand what is limiting me. You are the human being, the Vishwamanava, who is trying to see what is conditioning the Vishwamanava. But then let us keep it aside and look at the verse itself, how the Acharya is going to make the transition for us. But that is the jump we have to make along with the Acharya. And how is he going to do that? Just by introducing one more set of analogies. Balyadishvapi, Jagradadishu. Jagradadishu he has already covered it 3. In the within the part, one light, then the division of the Atma according to Deham Pranam, and what happens in Rahu Grasta Divakarendu Sadrishwa, Maya Samachadana, the deep sleep, what happens, waking, dream, deep sleep covered for the individual. But now the waking state is going to be broken up as many experiences, as Balyadishvapi, Jagradashu, all the avasthas of strong, weak, rich, poor, happy, not so happy, pain, all these pleasure, all these are going to be pulled now. And in all those avasthas, there is something that is vyavritta, there is something that is anuvritta. That is that which is going to be changing, and that is which is going to be unchanging. What is going to be changing? The Balyadishu, let us take that we can see the Acharya has opened up the time, that he is not merely looking at the waking state. He has now opened up the anubhava of the any of the individuals, as whether it is childhood, youth, middle age, or old age. You put your own time frame. You may say up to 15 years it is the childhood, then 15 to 30 it is youth, 30 to 60 middle age, 60 onwards old age, or something, whatever is convenient to you, you can take. The key point is not the differences. The key point is that there is this antaspurantam I, which is continuously present, which doesn't even recognize, which doesn't even need pratyabhijna, which can directly observe its own presence. That the youth which passed away 20 years ago, 30 years ago, The I which is there, which was there then, the youth changed. And now the old age has come, but still the I is the same. How you can check that? You can check for whom is the thought about youth and old age. For whom is this thought about youth? For me, I am here. So in youth also the I is there. Now the old age has come. Am I not there? The old age has come. So I am neither identified with the youth. Therefore, I will not have the foolishness to identify with the old age either. the by its passing, the youth has indicated to me that that is really not you. You are not the youth. Therefore, once I am clear about that, I am the consciousness I why will I want to identify with old age? I would still be the I. And for this, one nyaya is given. How to separate the consciousness from the body? They use the nyaya of what happens in dream. In waking state, the understanding is that the body and the consciousness all go together. We can't see how to separate the consciousness from the body is the argument in the Vedanta. So they bring in dream what happens. In dream, without the involvement of the body, the mind itself is able to create its own emotions, its own characters, its own anubhavas, which all appear real then. And the body is not, the physical body is not involved in that at all. Therefore, we understand that there is these two, the body and the consciousness, are not identical. They can be separated, and the reality inquired by sadhana. That we should not take for granted the waking state ignorance that I am this body. And how does Bhagavan help us separate? He says that casually we keep saying, I went, I came, I saw, but a moment's reflection would show that all these actions came, went, saw belong to the body. Whereas the body doesn't say I. It is you who go and identify with the body and say that I went, I came, I saw. Therefore, the intelligence is to turn that ray of attention from identifying with the body to its own source, to from where it has arisen. That is where we have the direct experience as this I is continuous. Even with sadhana, when we follow Upadesha Saram and come to the Aniya Bhavatil Avanahamahu Ananiya Bhavame Mundipara Anaithilum Uttamam Mundipara Bhava Balatinal Bhavanatita Sadbhavatirtale Mundipara Parabhakti Tattva Mundipara. When we apply that with the Bhava Bala only, with the effort only, what we are doing, we are going beyond the God's presence as Anniyam to us. Avanahamahu Ananiya Bhavame. And only Sadbhava, wherever Bhava comes, let it go. Let the Bhava Shunya Sadbhava Sustitihi. That I exist, that alone is held. That is when we realize I exist even without the senses, I exist without even the breath, I exist without even the thought. That this is the direct perception of Antaspurantam Sada, the I that is ever shining, that is the Ishvara Swarupa, which is the revelation of Ananya Bhakti, Bhakti Sadhana of Atma Vicharam, without even the support of memory, which was used in the previous verse, Pratyabhijna. Without even that, one can directly experience through Atma Vicharam. There is something which is unchanging and which is a continuous light inside me, which is present through all these states. Sarvasvavastasvapi. That is, the avastha could be Balyadeshu, the youth, the childhood, youth, middle age, old age, whatever may be the avastha is changing. Forget about the avastha. Let us take a single day. There was this problem brought by a sadhaka that in the morning times, when he starts the day, all good thoughts, the mind is involved in all the good thoughts that are possible. But by the time evening comes, all the old habits, all the old thoughts which were negative in nature and which were very gross, they start coming. And every day this problem is there. That in the morning, one is fresh and one feels that the mind is able to hold on to sadhana and good thoughts. But as the day progresses, as we engage in the world, the uh, the tamas in the brain starts increasing. And one can recall that Bhagavan, in the evenings, he would start narrating some spiritual stories. We have this funny incident where all the devotees will be awake, and late into the night, Bhagavan would be recounting these spiritual stories. And the Chinnaswamy, he would be concerned about Bhagavan's physical health. So he would want them all to go to sleep. So he will come in rounds. And what Bhagavan would do, since he will be on the divan, he can see through the window when Chinnaswamy comes. So he will tell everybody, you all lie down, Chinnaswamy is coming. And then once Chinnaswamy's round is over, he'll say, all of you get up, and he'll continue the spiritual story. In the sense that by the evening, the brain, you may not be able to do tough sadhanas, but it can still hold good thoughts by having this practice. We read spiritual books or stories before going to sleep. And in all religions, that practice is encouraged. Before going to sleep, read the scripture. But this problem, the avastha of a day, that in the beginning we seem to be so fresh, and that is why any prayers throughout the day we make, and the Gayatri Japam also is said to be made 3 times in a day at least, so that the rejuvenation is there, the washing away of the tamas is there. But then what to do? That we see that there is the avastha change throughout the day. Here also, Bhagavan gives us a clue that the antaspurantam sada can be held by actively holding the antaspurantam when there is sattvam. When the mind is in sattva mode, hold it as best as possible so that your average existence itself changes. And when it comes to rajas and tamas, don't be aggressively fighting. The very acceptance of the movements, the very acceptance of the dullness allows you to be in touch with this Puranam. The Antaspuranam doesn't disappear anywhere. But if you are totally identified with the Rajas and Tamas, we will not be able to feel this Puranam. Therefore, Bhagavan in sadhana gives us how to manage in that avastha. Has the Antaspuranam gone anywhere? But as we go towards the natural abidance in the Antaspuranam, Bhagavan gives us a clue that when the sattva is predominant, go all out, give the full practice, the full attention. Then when it moves into rajas and tamas, don't fight it, accept it, and that very acceptance will help you that you may be moving, you may be dull, but you cannot take away my existence. This Puranam will start becoming visible even in those modes of the brain, and still it becomes natural that these avasthas also don't impinge on the antaspurantam sada. The Spuranam will not be out of visibility even in these avasthas. And we will learn that art of living in the self, which Bhagavan says, that is where this light, the Ishvara Shakti, becomes constant. So now, having had this look, let us go and finish the verse. Balyadishvapi jagradadishu tata sarvasu vastasvapi vyavrittasvanu vartamana mahamityantaspurantam sada. There is the changing state and there is the unchanging Spuranam. And it is this Puranam which is your identity, which is naturally what you are. The Ishvara and the Jiva are not two. Only when the Vasanas are still not worked out in sadhana, it appears as though we are attracted by the world. But as with the Guru Kripa, with the Dakshinamurthy Swami's Anugraha, As we practice Atma Vicharam, the Spuranam, the Ishvara's presence, the Sannidhi becomes natural. The avastha is immaterial. Richness, poorness, how does it count? The antaspurantam is the actual richness. That you have to have memory. If you don't remember in which bank account you have put what, you can't go and draw. So, what is the real wealth? Real wealth is what is shining within us as the I. Swatmanam prakati karoti bachata yo mudraya patraya. This is what is taught by Dakshinamurthy Swami, that you are not the one who is trapped in these avasthas. You are the ever-present light. You are one with the Ishvara, the revealing light, the light that reveals all these avasthas. That is what you are. And that is what is revealed by Swatmanam Prakati Karoti. What does Dakshinamurthy Swami reveal to us? Prakati Karoti, you are that Atmanam, you are that Atmaswarupa, which is Antaspurantam Sada, which is Anuvartamanam, always which is shining. It is not Vyavritta, it is not coming and going. The avasthas come and go, waking, dream, deep sleep. In the waking, the various states, youth, old age, middle age, rich, poverty. Why do the sages deliberately embrace poverty? That richness is not richness. And the Ishvara will provide what is required. What is said of the Ananya Bhakti is that when one worships Ishvara as Ananya, then whatever is the need, that is fulfilled by the Ishvara by carrying that load on his head. That is what is said in Gita. For those who want to be assured as to how their needs will be taken care of if they are in Ananya Bhakti, then in what way we could have cared as an individual, because the individuality has been surrendered. The Ishvara will be taking care of this situation. And one can see, as if one has worked, as one would have walked the Bhakti Marga, you can see everything falling in place. That without the ego, which was false anyway, trying to do anything, everything is spontaneously happening. And you are merely a witness of that. The entire waking state is merely passing by. And you are not having any kind of involvement as to this should happen or that should happen. But it is very clear to you that old intelligence, which was going exactly in the opposite direction, is no more running the show. In fact, it is no more running the show for anyone. Only the Spurantam Sada, the Ishvara Shakti, is alone running the apparent activity. In fact, that whole apparent activity gets merged in the Spuranam. And that Swatmanam is what you are, is what is made clear. The Prakati Karoti by whom? By Dakshinamurthy Swami, by the Mudraya Badraya. The Chin Mudra, which is the holding of the ego, the three shariras crossed, not involved with detachment from three shariras. The ego holds the Brahman, which is the thumb, and they form the Antaspurantam, the I. The individual which was getting involved with these three bodies detaches themselves from itself from the three bodies and identifies with the Ishvara Shakti, which is present ever as I. Therefore, there is the continuous shining as I. That is what is mentioned in the Chin Mudra. And this is called as Bhadra Mudra. This is Mangalakaram, this is Shantam, this is the ultimate blessing that one can get. Therefore, the commentators say you should call it as Bhadraya Mudraya, that it is a Bhadra Mudra. This indicates the complete auspiciousness, that the ego will suffer if it is identified with the gross, subtle, or causal bodies. It has to free itself by enquiry from them. And automatically, by the enquiry, who am I? It will get identified with this Puranam that is inside. therefore, the hand shows the gesture, but the maunam, the Guru's maunam, it is a Shakti. The Guru is present as this Puranam, and that Puranam has consumed all the dimensions. When it has consumed all the dimensions, has it not consumed the Sanakadi Munis who are sitting around? That is why Bhagavan says the Guru's Mauna is the most powerful thing. Guru's Mauna is the highest form of grace because it has consumed all the dimensions. And whoever is this teaching of Mauna to everyone? No, says the Acharya. Bhajatam, the one who surrenders to the Guru, the one who approaches the Guru with Vinayam, the one who has bhakti to find out the truth, to him this is revealed. Through the hand gesture, there is revelation, but even more powerfully by the Mauna presence of the Guru. Who is the Antaspurantam Sada in everyone? There is no everyone. Everyone has been consumed by the Guru. The Guru's I has consumed everything. All the dimensions, all the individuals have been, and that is shining as I. How can the Sanakadis who are surrounding retain their individuality? Their own I is pulled in, and through that Mauna itself, as many devotees would say who come to Bhagavan, some of them would report that their doubts were answered, that they got some positive answer to their doubt. But many would report that their doubts dissolved. Along with the doubter, they were absorbed by the Antaspurantam Sada, the Dakshinamurthy himself, completely absorbed their individuality along with their doubts. That's why one of my sadhakas here, the co-satsangi, let us say, we would go for evening walks, and he would say, when he would ask me some question, and he would say, I don't want an answer, I want a solution. I don't want answer to this. Meaning that he wants the problem and the problem feeler to both dissolve. I want a solution to this, means he wants, I don't want the problem to remain or the problem feeler to remain. I want both of us to be dissolved. And that is what happens when we start tending towards the Ishvara's presence, the I. All we have to do is have complete bhakti to Bhagavan. That is what is the last line. Tasmai Shri Guru Murtaye Namaidam Sri Dakshinamurtaye. And as usual in the Tamil verse, Bhagavan adds Tadalviri Guruam and the Dakshinamurti poetry. the shining of the I, the Ishvara Shakti, when Bhagavan gives Nayana Diksha, it comes as the power of Diksha and pushes the Jiva inside into the Antaspurantam. And Kanakammal would report that when she was sitting, they are all the gentlest of devotees possible. Already they are not willing to come out. And when they are so ready to turn inward, Bhagavan's Nayana, she says, I suddenly felt that he was looking at me. Author Osborne tells the same, that on whether it was Kartika Deepam day or whether it was Deepavali day, he is not able to recollect. But then Bhagavan on that day was looking into his eyes, and his entire jiva was pushed inside towards what is shining always as I. And he has experience of that peace, he says. Kanakamal says, my mind melted when Bhagavan looked into my eyes. That is explained that the Antaspurantam, what it manifests as, when that Guru is always identified with the Ishvara Shakti, then whatever he speaks, whatever is the teaching of Bhagavan, when we do Parayanam of his teachings, we are in mental contact with Bhagavan. And those who have had the blessing of looking into the eyes or Bhagavan looking into their eyes, that is Tadalviri, that is the Analviri, that is the Jnanagni. That I comes out as the Jnanagni and pushes the devotee, pushes the sadhaka into feeling this Puranam. Once you get the taste of this Puranam, the Anandamaya Swarupam of Ishvara, because Ishvara is full of bliss. Ishvara is Ananda Swarupi. Once you get the taste of that fullness of Ananda, you will never stop wanting to get back. And the sadhana will find fulfillment. The Guru will push once like that, and you will experience that Spuranam. From there on, your interest to find the reality of that Anandam and drop the unreality of these avasthas will become natural till out of grace, out of the blessing of Sri Dakshinamurthy Swami, one will be abiding in the self, in one's own true nature, as the Spuranam that is shining as I, without any interval, without any gap. It is shining, it is present. That is what our true identity is. We are not the one trapped in these avasthas. We are that which is ever shining as I. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri Ramanaya. We can sit in Atmaucharam till about 8 o'clock, going towards the I. If we have to, we have identified, just be with that. Be silent with this Puranam. Till 8 o'clock, we'll practice Atmaucharam and then we can listen to Akka. Ujjwalji, can set the time for us? Thank you.
भगवते श्रीरमणाय।
Namo Ramana. Namo Ramana.
Namo Ramana. By the infinite grace of Bhagavan, we, in this part of the satsang, or in this satsang, we are dwelling with Nandakumar ji on the Dakshinamurthy Stotram. And it is a great blessing that we have been able to have the session today, which is New Year's Day. And what a wonderful way to begin the new year. What a great blessing for all of us from Bhagavan to dwell on the Dakshinamurthy Stotram, and on that part of the Dakshinamurthy Stotram which Nandakumarji has been telling us is highlighting the self-abidance. That section of the Dakshinamurthy Stotram, the last verses where we are taken back to the source. It is a new year. The year is passing. Time is passing. Every new year means one more year is added to our life. It means there is a change which is happening outside. And we celebrate the new year. We greet each other, which is very good. And yesterday, day before yesterday, when we were celebrating Bhagwan's Jayanti, Nandakumar ji was telling us how celebrations are so beautiful. Why? Because we all want to be happy. During celebrations, we want to be happy. And celebrations make us happy. The new year is a time for hope. But Nandakumarji also very beautifully told us, why do we want to restrict our happiness to one day in a year, the new year, or Bhagavan's Jayanti, or some other beautiful day in our lives? Why do we want to restrict our joy to that when every moment is Bhagavan's Jayanti, every moment is new? Of the self, it is said, Navo Navo Bhavati. All other things are old. Everything else is old, because what are we reminded of in this today's Manana? Everything has passed away. The childhood has passed away. The youth has passed away. The middle age has passed away. And in another beautiful verse composition, Adi Shankara says, Balastavat Krida Saktaha, Tarunastavat Saktaha, Vriddhastavat Chinta Saktaha, Pare Brahmani Kopi Nasaktaha. When one is young in childhood, one is busy playing, one is caught up in sport, and the very process of growing up. One is so busy with the process of growing up and enjoying oneself. Probably there is some amount of freedom, there's some amount of being carefree and all that is there. So that is there. Then in the youth there is the push of youth, the adrenaline and the usual attraction of the genders. All this is happening in the youth. And by the time one has crossed the childhood and the youth and come to old age, he says one has come into a phase of worrying, of anxiety. Will this go right? Will that go right? What will happen? And the body doesn't cooperate. So there is anxiety about the body. And one gets into a period of anxiety. Where is time for paying attention to that Aham Spurana, which Nandakumarji very sweetly told us, it is shining all the time. But in Rajas and in Tamas, we are not listening, we are not hearing that call of the heart which is going aham, aham, aham all the time. So when one looks at one's life, this is a panorama of whole of one's life which Bhagavad Pada has opened out and Bhagavan has opened out before us. So many events have passed. The movie has gone on and on and on. And how does that whole thing remain with us at this moment? It is remains with us as impressions of the past, as memories of the past. And every moment that is passed, then there's again one more memory added to the data bank. But the Kumarji was again in this beautiful session when he addressed us, he said, why don't we give attention to that which is installing the software within us? We are so busy paying attention to all this data. We're so caught up with this that we don't have time for the self. But what when we look at this entire panorama, everything is passing. When we recognize it is all mere data, the data can disappear at any point of time. And he said, if I don't remember my bank accounts, the accounts are as good as not there. If I don't remember what, if I don't remember bank accounts, I remember Nandakumar saying that one of the important turning points in his sadhana was his encounter on a train uh, with a fellow passenger. Three people got into the train, and one senior person and his son and daughter-in-law. And this senior person was not even aware that he had to keep his clothes on. He wanted to take his clothes off, and his son and daughter-in-law were struggling with him. And then the son shared with Nandakumarji that this person, his father, had been a brilliant scientist, but due to a brain fever, he had lost that the control over certain parts of the brain. So now he was not even in a position to understand that he had to wear clothes, forget about remembering a bank account. What happens to the mind if Alzheimer sets in or something else happens when the brain is affected? What can one do? So it is so passing that one must feel the urgency to get back to the self. All this, one is not in control of this data, and it is ultimately mere data. It is all a past, and it may disappear at any point of time. So, but the option is available. So the new year gives us two thoughts. One is that everything till yesterday is past, is not of any meaning. Because if you are wanting to celebrate the new year, what of the old? It is sure that we are ready to say that was not good enough. Otherwise, we won't say Happy New Year to each other. If yesterday was so happy, I will say, why Happy New Year? I was happier yesterday. We never say that, isn't it? We always say Happy New Year. We always wish each other something good. Either even till yesterday, if life was good, it should continue to be good because there's no guarantee. That's why we wish each other. Otherwise, why wish each other? If there was guarantee of pleasure continuing, there won't be any wishes at all for New Year. But one, either we, some of us hope New Year will be better, or at least it will be as good. Even if it was good, we want it to be better because our cup is not full. How can our cup be full? The cup is not full. And in a way, it is the grace of the Lord that the cup is not full. Because when the cup is not full, we want to go back to the source and fill the cup. We want to go back to the source of happiness, which is ever shining, which is revealed to us in the gracious Chinmudra, which is revealed to us in that which is the auspiciousness, everything that is auspicious, which is revealed to us by the glance of the Guru, which Bhagavan's eyes are constantly telling us to turn back to. Whenever we also, like Muruganar, are able to get into the eye meeting game with Bhagavan, then those eyes call us back to the self. And in every moment, self-inquiry gives us a choice. Dilip will say every thought coming up is an opportunity to inquire. Every moment, the inquiry gives us this option. Every moment, the rising of thought and the rising of inquiry simultaneously gives us this option. Is the self what is valuable? Is the self what we want, or is the thought that is valuable? Is the identity that is valuable? We have the option, and at any point of time when we feel we do not have any more options, there is no more an option of holding on to thought. There is no more an option of holding on to identity. That is not an option for me. What am I left with? I am not left with nothing. I am left with the fullness of the self. That alone is everything, is what has been told to us. That is everything. That does not exclude anything. But we need to apparently to drop everything out of our love for the self alone. And only then can we recognize that that is everything. Until then, the divisions continue. So, this is the great grace of Bhagavan, which has allowed us this sharing today, in which is again a forceful reminder for us to hold on to that magnificence of the self. Om Namo Bhagavate Shri.
Namo Ramana. Happy New Year. Kaka.
Yes, sir.
Happy New Year.
I did a little bit of cheating, sir.
No problem.